Well, I've been asked to talk about services, and services may be a slightly uglier, let's say, subject, given all the day-to-day projects. When we try to get our heads around making double digits, it's perhaps not as sexy a subject as what Roberto has explained, but let's see if I'm able to convey this to you with passion and enthusiasm, or at least the passion and enthusiasm we feel. We base our services on two key pillars: technology and sustainability. Technological know-how simply consists in understanding and knowing what's being done in the market, identifying best practices, and proposing those best practices, attempting to implement them in our clients or in our own production processes. I'm getting a bit confused. Wait, let me go back. Okay, and if these improvements in production processes have a direct impact on the sustainability of our clients, then we can embrace them ourselves and perfect them and become experts in them. And we do this with three main characteristics: through positioning as a end-to-end partner. And I say end-to-end because what we do is focus on generating efficiencies. So the more processes our clients allow us to manage and the more interrelation there is between them, the easier it is for us to generate those efficiencies. And always within a partnership format, trying to distance ourselves from this more classic supplier-client relationship where the supplier begins generating efficiencies that the client keeps, and in the end we end up being squeezed on the price front. So we try to ensure that we share the efficiencies that we generate, at least with the client. And why do clients accept this partner relationship with us? Well, they do this because of our very strong knowledge of technology and sustainability. And because we're a multi-sector company, we're able to transfer improvements that are taking place in other sectors to a client who may not have that visibility or access to that. And this makes us extremely creative in proposals we make for process improvement. We're also able to provide creative improvements in solutions that we're able to offer our clients of a contractual relation nature for variability and also to share those efficiencies. And then, of course, because of our geographic footprint, to a large extent, our multinational clients are able to find a global solution for their plants or their sites. And of course, due to our management and financial capacity, management and financial capability, which makes it very easy for us to accompany them in this process. But this is only valid if we're also able to fulfill the second characteristic and be diversified, because very often being a parent of a client means that you can often take yourself to a place you don't want to be. You may end up investing in investments that you may not see or may not be able to achieve adequate profitability from, or may force you to participate in strategic projects. And for strategic clients, you may lose money in exchange for having a magnificent reference to be able to make your presentations. So diversification for us is the ability to always say no and be able to select the right partners so that in the medium term we're able to achieve the margins that we seek. But more important than these two characteristics is our management culture, which is our key characteristic, I would say. We'll look into this in more detail later, but I believe that Dominion has a type of seal or characteristic that allows clients to identify us, whether it's in an activity such as the one in Colombia or in Australia. At the end of the day, they're all governed by the same, let's say, format or approach. We are people who could become very hard and certain aspects of negotiations, but we believe in efficiency. For us, the only thing that makes sense is efficiency. We don't believe that long-term relationships with our clients can be maintained by commercial relationships or by having a certain technical capability. Simply by having the ability to consistently generate efficiency is the key. And in the end, that is what allows us to maintain recurring relationships with our clients. And we apply this in two main segments: infrastructures and industry, which I'll explain in more detail a little later. And why do we differ the type of management in each case? Well, it's not because we need different technical or commercial capabilities or capacities in each segment, but rather because the way we manage and the way we develop our applications and our management platforms means that we have to let's say, operate or act differently in each of these two areas in order to achieve the best possible margins in each of these activities. I'll explain what I'm trying to say and go into more detail. In the world of infrastructures, we're normally talking about delocalized services. Let's say we have a resource that's a human resource that's moving in a vehicle with a number of tools, and we're talking about semi-fixed costs throughout the day. And our ability to optimize and ensure that this resource manages to place an additional order or to reach an additional address is practically limited in terms of margins. Therefore, productivity is the key. Normally, we're talking about high volume contracts with a high level of variability, which permits subcontracting or outsourcing. And this allows us to cover all spikes and focus on the ongoing improvements of those contracts. Our management applications here are based very much on logistics modules that make a lot of sense for delocalized services, and on all the indicators and process improvements that can be applied to continuous improvement, bearing in mind that we have a very long time horizon and that our client will allow us to take full advantage of these efficiencies. In the scope of industrial sustainability, our resources are on the site or at the site of the client, and they cannot be moved. They have excellent knowledge of our client's production processes, but if there's something with respect to the last strategic plan where we failed a little in the way we observed and viewed the world, is that we were unable to, let's say, carry out our contracts with our industrial clients. It was very complicated because it was there were some very strong regulatory requirements, and it was very rigid. And as a result, our management platforms have been based more on asset management. The job controller acquired more importance, and we had to be very smart and have an adequate management system to take advantage of, let's say, small cycles of investments, or be able to invest in additional services where we can perhaps obtain better margins. In industry, we have a very strong position in thousands of clients, and this is really important, what I'm going to say now. It's important to be selective and to identify well who is going to allow us to achieve adequate profits in the coming years. Let's go into more detail about the world of intelligent or smart infrastructures. Okay, let's first talk about the term smart. In the last 10 years, there's been a huge change in the world of infrastructures that we're managing because they have become more aware. New business models have been implemented. Smart meters have been introduced. There are sensors in networks that allow us to perform preventive measures that we couldn't do before. And we're able to carry out perfect monitoring of operations. And this, undoubtedly, has meant that, and this is important, that a quasi-perfect interrelationship has developed between the different activities, and we're able to manage projects end to end. And in many cases, our clients are sufficiently sophisticated to understand that the complete outsourcing of a production process will generate the most efficiency. And in this area, we operate in commercial management for given clients, commercial management for our clients, logistics, installations, maintenance, design, construction, network engineering, and the operation and monitoring of the entire network. It's evident that if we are responsible for the commercial management of a client, we'll be more efficient when it comes to providing logistics and providing installations and maintenance, as well as if they design the network subsequently and we're able to monitor and operate that network. And I'd like to take advantage of this point to touch upon something that Miguel commented before. For us, the B2B2C, the new B2C in the strategic plan will be considered B2B2C because we've gone from having own clients to having clients under management, which on the one hand is something we've always done and where we feel most comfortable. As Mikel said, we no longer have that rigidity of having to have the most competitive rate. We will look for this, but one thing we will have the ability to do is to adequately manage that end customer by attracting clients, by maintenance, and through our ability to cross-sell with that client. The key element here, evidently, is our omni-channel acquisition network. If I previously mentioned and explained why clients want to be our partners, here clients want to be our partner through our omni-channel network, and that is where we have to pay more attention. And due to our resources, as Miguel said, we're a highly dynamic company, and we want to do things the right way, either with, for example, an agreement with Photo Bricks, for example, to attract more people to the stores or to analyze whether they're the right size. And moving on to the world of industrial sustainability, you'll see that this figure is very similar to the previous one. This presents the logical evolution of our on-site positioning within our industrial clients. Those who've been following us for some time, you'll know that we explain this world as a one-stop shop, where a client may have a series of activity needs, and we can cover all of those needs, once again based on the fact that data allows us to generate efficiencies between the different processes. But the world has evolved, and we want to be the spearhead of what's being demanded now and what our clients are asking us to provide. Now what they want from us is sustainability. It's their only concern. So we're positioning ourselves in all activities that generate environmental impacts for our clients, trying to provide services and solutions that can minimize the aforementioned impacts. Mikel's already explained the importance of taxonomy and how we are being the first to deliver said taxonomy to our customers, who, on the other hand, are also being required to provide taxonomy because it's important for the supply chain to also fulfill this requirement. And this is being transformed into a very clear competitive element. This is important in environment, in safety, in security, within tenders. And we're even changing the way in which we present indicators, KPIs, and helping them in this process to ensure that they're able to better measure everything that creates impact. So here we're in full cycle on production missions. We have, for example, technology inside towers, industry. We have energy consumption. As you know, we're a company that's highly specialized in heat generation. We're also providing energy efficiency and all maintenance changes. We're in this transformation from the corrective world to the predictive, preventive sphere. We're also in installation and maintenance, sustainable buildings and facilities, incorporating state-of-the-art technology to hospitals, dismantling of CPDS. We've also been very active, for example, in the dismantling of thermal power plants and in storage with the energy transition and with the change of the entire supply chain. Storage has changed radically. We provide end-to-end services in maintenance, and finally in inputs and outputs of raw material, finished products, but above all waste. We're also being a very important player, providing waste treatment services and circular economy generation services for our clients. Next slide. And now we connect the world of services, regardless of the segment, because we have to accept that services is mainly about cost management and being very competitive. And that's what we do. I'm going to identify a series of drivers that we have going forward, 4 in this case. First, geographic cross-selling. This is a historic, classical driver in Dominion. We've always explained that we have a platform with a presence in previously 30-odd countries, now 40 countries, where perhaps we're only in one of our segments of action, and then the growth by geographical cross-selling is clear. I'm first going to talk about Latin America. In Latin America, we have a strong presence in services. It's the geography where we obtain most margins in this respect. We've observed that many European companies, especially in Spain, are leaving Latin America. It's expensive. Financing with current rates is complicated. Profits have fallen in recent years. And we've also observed that American companies are also leaving, surely or probably due to political instability. And we ask ourselves, why not? Well, first, because we earn a lot of money. Secondly, because we have national structures. We're already part of that country. We're already Colombians, Chileans, and Mexicans, and we've generated cash in all those countries. Therefore, we have no need to finance. And we also have a number of services and obviously assets that cannot be nationalized. Furthermore, there are clients that have been nationalized, and it's working perfectly well. This removes the currency impact. So I have to say that we've been doing very well, and this generates many opportunities for us, because in many cases we've been alone and identified as a benchmark and quality or high quality supplier. Well, this allows us to enter activities with greater added value and move to other geographies. And secondly, because within Latin America, there are still many geographies where we can grow further. For example, in Central America, we've identified wonderful opportunities. And if they pass our financial or discipline standards and become good opportunities, well, surely we'll be able to enter with higher margins than the rest of the activities. Focusing a little more on cross-scaling, Mikel previously referred to Germany. For us, Germany is the second main country, and when I refer to Germany, I refer to Germany and countries around Germany, the Nordic countries and other countries in Eastern Europe. Germany's a success story for us. We've had some rather old industrial structures there. After the integration of Verona in the group, we acquired a company in Germany with 120 years of history, a highly industrial company. And I have to be honest that we've done a fabulous job of modernization within our own industrial clients, but we've also been able to carry or take activities from the telco sphere. As Mikel explained, in Germany, they're 10 years ahead in terms of fiber optic deployment, and we're frankly well positioned. In general, throughout the whole of Northern Europe, I think we have great growth capabilities, both in telco and also electrical distribution lines. And following the example of Germany, the next geography should be the rest of geographies where we have, let's say, more old industrial services that we need to modernize. We're already doing this in the US. Next, the Gulf in Saudi Arabia. We've also managed to conclude a number of technology contracts, and then perhaps India, which would be the next geography to tackle, perhaps more complex in terms of competitiveness and services. And finally, not solely within our current service structures, but also in countries that Dominion has excellent knowledge of because it's operated in 360 projects, we'll also have the opportunity to set up recurring long-term structures. Perhaps Angola could be one geography in the medium term. As I explained before, in industry, it's largely a question of choosing appropriately which clients will allow us to obtain margins, due to regulatory requirements, decarbonisation requirements, and also due to industrial relocation processes mentioned by Mikel. Large investments are expected in industry in the future. Not all will be the same, and in not all of these investments will the benefits be the same. But we do have to consider that there will be an important turnout there. Returning to Germany, which is one of my favourite countries, and that's strange. If you'd asked me this 5 years ago, I would have never had that idea. We've identified great opportunities in relation to furnaces. Some would perhaps have thought that this is something that would have disappeared, and I thought so myself. We've identified fabulous projects, and we have excellent opportunities in waste to energy. And with the entire, let's say, energy transition change, all industries need to change from gas furnaces to electric furnaces, and this is creating a very important pipeline ahead of us. And this is so important in the field of infrastructures where perhaps this great transformation has already taken place in the past. We referred previously to smart infrastructures with important investments to improve those infrastructures. There are examples such as Germany, but what we can see in this sector is that there are major changes in infrastructure ownership with the entry of investment funds as owners or co-owners, and this is also generating huge dynamism in the sector. And in reference to these changes, particularly in relation to industry, this is going to give rise to new business models. We've already explained that infrastructures will have nothing to do with the way in which services are provided as they were 10 years ago, and the changes that will take place in industry will also give rise to new ways of relating with our customers and new services. To give you an example, Mikel explained this before, we're very active in the circular economy and waste treatment, growing organically, looking for new geographies, but also undertaking certain acquisitions that will allow us to position ourselves adequately. And finally, the three drivers that I mentioned before are more geared towards sales growth. Business opportunities that we identify and that we feel we can take advantage of. And finally, because I have to consider that I'm less worried about sales because I think that they will come automatically, it's more to do with our capacity for internal margin improvement. So I think we have to be very selective. Our current position or positioning has nothing to do with our positioning in the old strategic plan where we started. We are now clearly in a position to be able to choose. We have many opportunities and we have to choose well. And I always tell service managers that they shouldn't be anxious, because anxiety will eventually kill you. Even today, there are even contracts with negative results, and this undermines all of the work that's been carried out elsewhere in other projects. So I simply believe that through an improvement in selection and being aware of our current position, we have 1 or 2 percentage points that we can gain. And of course, since we're Dominion, and we always do this, our sales growth will come, and it will be accompanied by operating leverage as a result of our own raison d'être, our constant demand to reduce business structures, but also because our own selective digitization of internal processes will generate these. I'd just like to spend a couple of seconds referring to this idea of internal processes. Previously referred to our technology platforms. We talk a lot about our technology platforms, and I'm aware that sometimes it may be a little difficult to understanding how all this translates in the real world. So we'd like to show you a video. I organized a short internal or in-house contest to see who could send in the video with the best explanation, and we've received a video from Chile from the people who manage telecommunications, which is really interesting. But before I show you the video, I'd like to just briefly mention our platforms. I believe that the main characteristics are that they are modular and transversal. Modular means that they are economical, that they're largely open source, and that we're not trapped by anyone who's going to require us to, let's say, and as Mikel often says, we're like termites, but not of cathedrals. And this allows us to be very scalable, and we're transversal because evidently we can, specialize in a certain activity that needs to be improved or controlled. I would say that 80% of them can be adapted to different geographies and sectors. In other words, they travel very well. Let's see the video.
I am Claudia Sturla, Telecommunications Manager at Dominion Chile. Our difference does not lie in what we do, but in how we do it. All our operations are underpinned by strict control of indicators such as quality, first appointment, backlog service, speed, and many others. The synergies between the client's systems and our own systems generate statistics that enable us to know how our teams are performing in real time. Our SGS Service Management System is a powerful cross-functional management platform that digitizes many processes such as inventory loading. Thanks to this system, we control the technician's response to stock and material used by work order. We also have online tracking systems for technical staff in the field that enable us to gather reliable information to make quicker and more accurate adjustments. In order to ensure the proper control of the whole supply chain, we have an area whose key function is to identify any gaps that may cause any revenue losses. Through data analysis, we identify the most productive technicians, inviting the underperforming ones to join our reinduction processes. We stand out for having an efficient customer-oriented collection process. We monitor the deployment of technologies, their operation and maintenance, therefore learning about their current revenue flows. Technology is ingrained in the DNA of our production process, and it is a differential element for the intelligent management of telco infrastructures. This is the key to our success.
Well, perhaps the editing is not the best, but they did this in-house. So as you can see, we're very austere in everything we do. And just one comment. And I often like to speak of offenders. In-house, an offender is considered to be a technician whose productivity does not reach the minimum level that's demanded. We classify them as offending technicians. I'm just saying this so you can see that the purpose of our platforms is to measure productivity, and that's what we're based on. It's not a question of commercial management, of trying to provide indicators that the clients wants. No, not at all. It's about ensuring the maximum productivity of our operation. And to conclude, I would simply like to leave you with one message. At the end of the day, what we're saying is that what really sets us apart regardless of growth, let's say, curves and our positioning in the segments, is our management culture. It's what we really think that we're good at. We're pretty good at these things. So based on our 4D model, Patricia will go into more detail about culture, and Miguel and Robert have also touched upon this before. I think that we're all pretty similar in that sense. I'm only going to explain one of the Ds, because I think in the field of services, this D is most significant, decentralization. At the end of the day, we have businessmen and women, and they use this global approach. We obviously control them. We have applications and systems that allow us to see indicators and to view financial indicators and obviously determine their performance. And I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to personnel selection. If something doesn't work, we usually change the person, not the system, not our way of organizing ourselves. If something works well, it's not just one person who identifies with the entire project. When I arrived in Germany, I already had certain, let's say, problems with the country. Initially, that there were certain projects which weren't progressing adequately. And, you know, due to the departmental organization, everyone would pass the buck and blame somebody else. Nobody said it was their responsibility and take responsibility for this. And this is what we're looking for. And this is what decentralization is all about. This is something that has to be accompanied by an organizational structure that is very flexible and based on meritocracy. I don't like red lines. But clear red lines are normally financial. So when you analyze the risk-return binomial, it doesn't make sense. But we don't, let's say, establish any other red lines. If a person is dedicated to managing a telecommunications client in a geography and that telecommunications client isn't performing well or is not going to provide investment, you have to give them the capacity to grow their own business. And that's the model we have and that we implement. And this is a phrase that I've taken from Roberto. We do this with our ambition based on passion. We insist a lot on ambition within our company, and all of our businessmen and women have to be extremely ambitious. And sometimes ambition is misinterpreted. Some people may believe that ambition is somebody trying to, let's say, take their boss's position or stabbing somebody in the bank. But we talk about ambition based on passion. Almost like an athlete, we have a series of people in a cascade organization who run their own company and who year after year want to improve through their own ambition. And this ecosystem is what naturally makes things work for us. And I think that that's what's most important. At the end of the day, the service is management, and it's all about cost management, and it's about having good businessmen and women responsible for that management. And if we have 30 or 40, Miguel referred to the top 100 at Dominion level, well, if those 60 can be better, and in the future it will be 80 or 100, that is really going to mark our long-term progress. Thank you very much.